First off, Hamish, fantastic win for the team on Saturday against Sydney Swans, mate. How much confidence do you guys get out of that result?
Yeah, I guess probably over the last month, and particularly on the back of our last JLT game against Hawthorn, we gained a bit of confidence out of that and the way we're going about things, and then to get a great result like we did on the weekend gives us that extra spring in our step, I suppose. So we're really confident in our game plan and what we can achieve when we play the way we should.
Did you go up thinking that the team really had nothing to lose, given there was so much talk about Sydney and obviously being the grand finalists and everything like that?
Yeah, I guess we sort of went up with a little bit of that underdog status, which we don't mind at all. But as I said, we've gained a fair bit of confidence, particularly over the last 2 or 3 weeks, in the way we're going about things, and we knew that if we executed the core parts of our game right, then that would hold us in good stead, and in the end it did.
What about Sam Powell-Pepper? Obviously the rising star for this week, and we were just talking about before, those 2 goals that he kicked, one from 60 as well. Just outstanding debut.
Yeah, look, Peps hasn't put a foot wrong since the moment he walked in the door. First and foremost, he just wanted to earn the respect of the playing group, which he did immediately just by the way he went about training, and then has gone in, playing against men and with absolute confidence. I asked him before the game who he was targeting for the game against Sydney, and he said, "I've got a bet with a few of his mates that he could try and fend Buddy off." So just that type of confidence from a first-year player is incredible, and it's something that certainly filters out through the rest of the guys as well. So he'll just keep looking to build on that performance.
Well, you know firsthand, don't you? There's a story that the first day of training he lined you up, or was that Ollie?
Yeah, no, he got me pretty early on in the piece. I reckon it was probably within the first 2 or 3 weeks of training that he was out here. We just sort of accidentally collided into each other, and he put me on the deck for a few minutes, and he was very apologetic for it. But I said, "Mate, just keep doing it." So. And away he's gone. So yeah, he's been fantastic for us.
How much energy have those young guys? Him, Houston, even Brett Eddy is say young, but he's 27 making his debut. How much energy have they brought to the group?
Yeah, it's something that you can't disregard. That youthful energy that those guys bring, and it's always really exciting to see guys, carving their pathway, I suppose. And they've all come from different backgrounds. Brett's 27 years of age, Peps, he's a first-round draft pick, and Dan Houston's a rookie, so they've all come from different pathways, but they all played significant roles on the weekend, and just the attitude of all our first-year players, I think, this year has been brilliant. We've got Joey Atley knocking on the door, and some guys playing some pretty good footy in the SANFL trials as well, so it's really exciting.
How have you found the move to the half-back line this year?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I think, first and foremost, it really suits me aerobically compared to the midfield. Just to play in the midfield roles, particularly our footy club, you just got to be a freak athlete. You got to have endurance and speed, and a combination of those 2 things all game. And unfortunately, it's probably something that I don't possess naturally, so going back to the half-back line allows me to use my pace and power for 1 or 2 efforts, and then I can, once the ball's out of my area, sort of chill out a bit and be able to go again when the time comes. So I've really enjoyed my time back there so far, and I've still got a lot of learning to do, I've got no doubt about that, but Bass and the other guys back there in the defence have been great for me, so I'm looking to continue to improve week in, week out.
How did that conversation happen? Was that something like in the pre-season that Bass and Ken sat down with you and said, "We think you're best suited to the back line"?
Yeah, it was sort of happened at the end of last season when I had my end-of-season review, and it was probably a thought that I had more so than them. So I pretty much said, "Look, I think playing a lot across half-back at the end of last season, I found that I could stay in the game mentally a lot more than what I did when I was playing in the midfield, so I thought that was of some benefit for the team, and I said to them, look, I think I'm more suited to that type of position, so they took that feedback on board, and I trained there for the whole pre-season, and I'm obviously playing there at this point in time too. So I'm thankful for the coaches, I suppose, for taking that sort of feedback on board.
That review, was that before you flew to Melbourne to meet with a couple of clubs during the trade period?
That was, a week before. Every player goes through their end of season review, and I was no different. And that was when all those conversations sort of unfolded, and then sort of went through the whole process after that.
How'd you deal with that whole process of, sort of being told that you can look at other clubs, and obviously when you went to Melbourne to speak to a couple, how'd you go through that whole time?
Look, to be honest, it was probably a conversation that I was sort of half expecting to have going into that meeting. I knew I hadn't had the type of output that I would have liked throughout last season, and that the club finishing 9th and 10th in consecutive years, they were going to be looking for change. So it was something that I sort of anticipated, but went through that whole process like any other player would. Sought all the options that I needed to, but in the end decided that this is the club that I want to play for, I want to stay playing for, and I want to have some success with. So, and I sort of figured that a move to halfback might freshen me up a bit, and might make me play my best footy. So hopefully that's the way it'll sort of go.
Was it easy to come back into the fold then, like at the start of pre-season training?
Yeah, it was no problems. I've got incredible relationships with all the playing group, with the coaching staff and admin and everyone here at the footy club. So coming back in was no stress. I spent a lot of time in the off season with the playing group and building those relationships. So it was no different to any other pre-season.
So like meeting with the clubs in Melbourne, that was just about, I suppose, seeing what was out there. And
yeah, that's right. Just like any player does during their trade period, if they're on the table, you just go through the process, and we all want the best, for ourselves, but also for me, it was about getting the best deal for the footy club and for myself as well. So you do what you got to do. You have meetings, you chat to people, you sit and reflect on what the positives and the negatives are going to be over a 2 or 3 week period, and then you come and make your decision at the end of it, and that's what I did.